I remember back in, so this had to have been May in 2022. I remember going across the state with my kiddo to see my mom, who was in and out of the hospital, and it was just such a really rough time in my life, in all of our lives, truly. Just to see a person who, they want to do what they need to do, but it's just that motivation wasn't there at the time. And once it was too late. So it made it even more heartbreaking once she finally passed away a few months later in that year. But I clearly remember still mourning my grandmother from the year prior, still mourning the death of my daughter at that time. I had so much that was going on in my life, and even with my own physical health, and that definitely took a big toll on my physical body, commuting back and forth over the year prior and then in the calendar year of 2022. And even as much as I was able in 23 and 24. And then here we are now, 25. It's like, where on earth has the time gone? So whenever I think of things from my past and how that ultimately has impacted me now, I have to, well, I don't have to, but I'm in awe in a sense, because, what a journey it's been to arrive at this moment. So I remember when I first wrote this poem, and this was around a time that was just very heartbreaking and devastating for multiple people that I know in the community of child loss and pregnancy, infant loss, a community of those who are just struggling and working so hard to become parents. And for one particular type of group, it felt like at the time to be strongly expressing their viewpoint. Well, actually, no, it was more than just one group, but it feels like an us versus them at times, whenever so many around you are basically saying that what you want and what you need is not important, or quoting scripture or the Bible to you, cherry picking those scriptures that fit the agenda at the time. And I know we all can do those things, but here's the thing. What another person does with their body or their life have anything to do with yours? If you are not directly being impacted by their decisions, and the only reason why you would be upset is that, well, you just heard it through the grapevine. Well, how dare they do that with their lives? For all the lives that may be lost far too young, where are you to stand up and say, yes, I will be there and support, whenever you took away those rights that they had to make their own decisions? Where are you to stand up whenever somebody needs to step in and raise those children? Some children born from terrible, awful, just excruciatingly, just traumatizing events. Where are you to stand up and be there for them when they need you after they're born? What if their parental figure that had them dies in the process? Where were you when that person needed you? So when I wrote this, it came from a very deep place for me, because I was still grieving the loss of my daughter that I chose to carry to term whenever she had full trisomy 18. after, all the testing, amniocentesis, which that was a whole event all in itself, all the different specialists and providers, knowing that at any point, if things went south, my health would be in jeopardy. And even before then, years earlier, back in 2012, by the way. So we're talking about over a decade earlier. So from 2020, 2012. I had a lot of growth throughout that time, but even more so over the last 4 years. And I'll tell you what, the amount of support there is for those who have those early losses and for those who lose after a child is born, or those who lose their life because of a pregnancy that was just not viable. That's hard. And to push our beliefs on them just because we feel that does not fit something we would do. Therefore, there's this ideology that is thought of, well, if I don't believe in that, they shouldn't believe in that. That's not how it works. So without further ado, my poem, all the way back from May 6, 2022, titled Loss of Life, a poem by me, E.Schwenke. Would you mourn me if I died because of fetus-living-pride? If my baby couldn't make it, or if my body was threatened to stay alive? If I miscarried, my body aborted, would I go to prison? That's a brutal sentence, a terrible decision. What if I was raped, abused, a terminal fetal diagnosis? Some of the hardest choices are made during tragic moments. Those who've experienced this type of heartbreak know this. At what cost? Who will live? Who's left to die? Should my child be left without a parent because I couldn't save my life? Unknowns awaiting, yet fear is taking. So many eyes blinded by ego. These choices are not yours to be making. A parent left without a child, a sister, without one another. Individuals and couples who seek help to have that child grow their babies, science and hope on their side. Left with a prison sentence if they don't decide some of their microscopic, unviable, unfertilized babies to thrive. What if my child took one breath, passed on, and I was to blame for their death? Each person has their story to share. It's not yours to control them. No strings in the air. This isn't your uterus. This is mine. Would you mourn me if I died? I wanted to take a moment at the very end of that very brief moment to pause and reflect. This that I read over again. Would you mourn me if I died because of fetus-living-pride? How applicable is that to the current time being this time frame that we're in right now? This can apply to so many other things. Would you mourn me if I died because of fearful pride? I was not born here, you see, but I was fleeing for what could be. I was scared for my life. So I went to the land of freedom, not of strife. I wanted to be all that I could be, where I could live my life fully free. Would you mourn me if I died and they ripped me from the arms of my child? Would you mourn me if we didn't have the same complexion because it didn't match your own reflection? Would you mourn me because of the beautiful, loving pride that I hold by my side, marching down, hands held up so high, with all of the loving, beautiful pride that I hold within my heart and my side, to share the love and joy for all before the bombs began to fall. Would you mourn me if I died? Because the research needed was denied. The immunotherapy that I needed taken away because it was decided to keep it at bay. Would you mourn me if I died after serving this country, after watching those I've loved die around me, after battling within the lines of the past? And yet, I'm left without anything because it was decided to take it away. That is what was best. Would you mourn me if I died? Because my family we are left side by side. We don't have much, but what we do is supported through the places that we go to school. And the day that everything was taken away, I had one less meal to feed myself that day. And eventually, as the time passed, and I realized that there was nothing left to last, the hunger grew, my energy left. But that's okay. It helped you find out who needed it most of all. So I guess my death was sacrificing for what you wanted. After all, with working jobs in the fields and on the farms, what used to be of history long ago, a land made of immigrants from all of over the world to help this country grow. I guess we have to be okay that things are not okay today. Or at least that's what they say to us. Should they take our voice and hush? Would you mourn me if I died because I disagreed with you? I would not take your side. Would you mourn me if I died because of the compassion and empathy, the mercy that I'm told that I must have as a weakness, and yet I see it as my strength. Would you mourn me if I died? I know I mourn you. Side by side we are supposed to be, and yet that is not what sets us free. What sets us free is what we know, and that we have to let go of this disillusional state that we live within, because this is not how the world begins. There are many people out there who want to be all. But don't you realize that this is what happens often before the fall? The rise of power, especially when used within the abuse through the hearts of love and veils covered the ideologies of the youth within everything that was or ever could be, and try to erase the history, reinstate it the way you feel, and therefore take away each meal from the people who have the mouths to feed, who are the reason why this is a land of opportunity. Would you mourn the many who will die because of fearful, hating, egotistical pride? The hypocrisy that stands side by side. The images that we say aren't what they are. And yet we all saw it with our eyes. Would you mourn others whose lives are taken because they decided to stand up and do what was told to be forsaken? To make a stand and use your voice. Perhaps we didn't have a choice, and yet we did. Behind stained glass doors that we could not see through forevermore, and then we did what we should not, and we elected those who care not. For that's how many people feel, and we need to have these conversations still. So would you mourn me if I died? I mourn the hearts with tears in their eyes. I mourn for all within the world that are hurt and their lives are disrupted still. I stand strong with the many. I stand strong within my own convictions. I will not allow others to control my decisions. So would you mourn me if I died? Because of the masses, the acceptance, the feeling of belonging, that pride, that feeling of separation that takes sister from sister and brother from brother, that tears families apart and makes victims of others? What causes people to do hurtful, dreadful acts? What will it take for you to understand how we need to take this world back? Deception, illusion. We live in a world filled with truth and lies. There is one thing that we can do today, and that's speak with each other and share our voice and talk about it. We can be what gives others hope and pride. Just by sitting and having the conversation, we really need to sit down and have some reflection. Perhaps this is what many wanted all along, to stop us from talking and share our voices. So would you mourn me if I died? Because of the way I try to live my life. Using one name by example. To live a life like Jesus, who breaks bread with all. To speak of this loving universal creator who connects everything throughout all. This world has so much to offer and give. Can we be those who gently forgive? Forgive us for the trespasses that we have made against one another, and for those who trespassed against us, who feel like they have done things that are just beyond the point of understanding. Hopefully we will not be led into temptation, the things that are the easy avenues that help us escape within what is the hard path to take. It is easy to appease someone who is greater than us, who we see as elected, officially saying or representing. And yet we are the ones, the people, who elect others into points and positions of power. Just as in the movie Labyrinth, when it is found that there actually is no power, that hold of control and that essence of time can fall apart and break the cycle once and for all. There are many things within many lines that we can learn and grow from. We just have to be ready. And we have to know what is wholesome. To know what to look for and to know what to be. What can set the hearts of all absolutely, completely free. Take care, everyone. As you can see, I'm sitting in an inspired state, and I feel like sharing my words. So a lot has been going through my mind over this last week, and I just plan to keep talking about it, and I plan to just keep doing what I'm doing, have it be received however it's going to be received, and just go from there. And that's all I can do. Yeah. And I feel good about it, so that's what I want to do. So thank you so much. Take care of yourself. Let's have a conversation and let's talk about it. I invite all to join me, because I know I'm not alone. And if you're nodding your head through some of this, you know you're not alone. So let's talk about it. Let's do something about it. And let's go forward. Let's help be the change that we want to see in the world. Let's raise our voices, especially for those who are not able. Take care, my friends. Much love, and I'll talk to you later.